Hey, we are back for another, special edition of the Montreal Canadiens or the NHL Hockey Nation trade deadline review of what happening in the last 24 hours. What a great day of talking about hockey. Yes, many people use a live talking about hockey during those trade, but I knew Montreal is not going to be active. And I think, past 4 or 5 hours talking for not much going on. I think would be not necessary, but wait a special show like tonight to review. And I think it would be a great time to do it with not alone, but with two co-hosts. They are the regular co-hosts of the weekly report every Sunday night. And they are back with us talking about what happening around the league. Who are the winner? Who are the loser? What do you think about the Montreal Canadiens? Are you agree, disagree with no move from the team? What's be the next and what's going to happening for the next 20 games for the Montreal Canadiens? So we have all this to talk about tonight, and we cannot do it without two people. One from Toronto, one from I don't know where he's anymore, Nova Scotia, but he's late over there. He is back in the house. We talk about Mr. Enartap and Devin are back.
Hello, Coach. Hello, Devin. Hello, Hockey Nation. What a day. What a day.
What a day!
Enough
You're
trading for
right.
you?
You're right about that. We want to thanks everybody. Thanks to be a part of the show. Gary Connery knocked the door. We just finished the game. Laval Rocket again, the Rochester American. I just did the play-by-play. Laval won by the score 4-3 with 3 goals and the third period and the span of 225 to get a W. Now they are lead the North Division again by 1 point over the Rochester with one game in hands. Both teams play tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock p.m. And we want to thank all the people with us early. Now they are back in the house. Claude Richard, welcome back. Roy from Bangkok is with us tonight. And Nicolas de Goubi-Bonneau from la belle région de Sherbrooke, dans la belle province de Québec, de retour avec nous ce soir. We have Runway Kings, modérateur. Welcome back. Mr. Gary Cournoyer, the best driver around the world for UPS, is in the house tonight. Randy back in the with me. Randy was with us early in the game de Laval. Luc Fortin, welcome back. Thanks to be with us. Triple W, back in the house. Triple. Hopefully, an amazing, great week for you. We miss you, buddy. You and your family is doing well. And of course, we want to thank Ari is in the house tonight. So that's what we got. PLW back in the house. PL was with us a little bit early. Talk about fun things. And glad to see you, my friend. You talk about Bedard. Bedard have one assist on the first goal of the Chicago. Chicago came back with 2 goals to take the lead 2-1 against Utah. Detroit lose, but they score 5-2, I believe, tonight. Another great news for the Montreal Canadiens. Then we have the big win of the Winnipeg Jets, 6-1, I believe, against the Devils. The Devils are not looking good whatsoever. They signed Kovacevic a contract of 5 years at $4 million. So something like that. Send the man back in the house. Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for being a part of the show tonight. And that's happening, guys, for everyone. First of all, Mr. Nartap, how you feel about your day?
I'm exhausted, Coach. Man, following all the different insiders and trying to flip from channel to channel and just getting a lot of analysis of some of these trades. It looked like it was going to be kind of a quiet day, but then it really picked up. I don't know what the final count was in terms of number of trades made, but you know, I gotta say, if it's not up there, it's close, and especially when you consider the quality of players that were shifting jerseys today. So that's we'll see how this impacts everybody because on paper we can easily look at it and say, well, this is the clear winner and that's the clear loser, but you never know down the road, right? Like you don't know how well they'll gel with the new team, and you don't know what picks they get and what they'll turn into the future. But definitely an exciting day.
You're absolutely about David. Before you jump, I think what's happening, something like that. You never know the chemistry, what happened, right? The new players coming for a new team, everything like that. How you feel about that? When you talk about the trade deadline, when you do an overview for the NHL team, what's your biggest concern usually?
For me,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the big thing for me is I feel like there almost feels like there's an obligation for a lot of teams to make moves at the deadline, and I think sometimes teams get in trouble by doing too much or trying to do too much, right? They feel forced into making a trade, and that that if they don't make a trade, that they're not sending the right message to their players, or they're not sending the right message to their fans. And sometimes it's just as easy or just as well to not do anything, because, like you say, Coach, you could mess around with some of your chemistry. You look at a team like Washington, that's been playing really, really well. And their first place in the league when nobody really expected them to be anywhere near that. How much do you want to mess with that chemistry? How much do you want to change that team going forward that's had as much success as they had? The Edmonton Oilers last year went to the Stanley Cup final, and then they made a bunch of moves to change that lineup. And so again, I think more than just adding guys or feeling like you have to make a trade. You often hear people talk about teams making a splash at the deadline, or like I always cringe when I hear that term, because to me, it's not about making a move. It's about making the right move and making a move that works for your team.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so I think you have to be careful. And in that sense, I'm relatively happy that the Canadiens didn't do very much today, because I think that sometimes doing nothing is better than doing something stupid, and feeling compelled to make a move just because.
Yeah, absolutely about that. Marchand went to Florida. There's a great place, Mr. Nortap, because remember the rat a couple of years ago. So he's followed what's going on with it. But if I question both of you before we jumping on the winner loser, guys, and for the people in the chat, what are the three biggest traits for you for what happening the last 48 hours? Example. Where you're shocked to see a player go that direction, or surprised about maybe a team completely sell everything, whatever it is. So, what are your three biggest trait and trade deadline?
Well, I mean, for me, the first thing I'll say is that I spent most of my day today in a car, so I relied very heavily on Coach and Entertap and Marco to provide me with updates on what trades were being made. So thank you for that. So I think that, the Rantanen move, I think obviously is a big one. Maybe we did get a sense that it was coming over the last couple of days. The Marchand obviously was again one people had maybe been discussed a little bit, but we weren't really sure it was going to happen. Maybe not just an individual trade, but I think that the degree to which the Bruins, were sellers today, I think was a big surprise. I think it's a good thing for them. I think it's probably the right move for their organization to do that. I just didn't know if they had it in them to do it. And, the fact that they got rid of Marchand, Coyle, Carlo, I think that's it. Justin Brazeau, they got rid of Trent Frederick. Like they really got rid of a lot of guys, and it'll be interesting to see where they go with that. Whether that's them, the beginnings of a full rebuild for them, and what a rebuild in a city like Boston will look like. So I'm interested to see that. So I think to me the biggest trades are probably Rantanen and Marchand, and then probably again just Boston in general, and the number of guys from their core group that they unloaded.
Good point about that, Devin. And after, I know we're behind. Sometimes we talk after someone else. Like we try to. You have other things you pay attention, or you agree with Devin. What are the three things for you can pay attention today?
Yeah, I thought those were good points, Devin. Definitely. I mean, one thing I'll say that I was surprised about was the lack of inactivity in Vegas. I was really expecting, as per history, that they would do something, especially when things were happening around them, especially in the West Conference, and people were sort of beefing up there. I thought for sure they'd come in at the wire, but they remained pat with their team. So that's, I guess, one surprise for me. I mean, when you put it all together, I mean, for some of these teams, it's more than just one day. Like they've been accumulating and working towards improving their team for a while, right? If we look at, for example, Coach Colorado, they first early on solved, or at least made their goaltending situation a little bit better when they got rid of Georgiev and they brought in Wedgwood and Blackwood. So that was an improvement for them. Then the big trade with Natchez and Rantanen was Again, some people questioned it, and but I thought that was a good move for them. And then bringing in at the end both Coyle and of course Brock Nelson from the Islanders. I think now they're very solid up the middle. They're pleased with that, and they're going to be a team to contend with. And I guess the biggest surprise to me was how the ultimate rat lands in the Rat Pack in Florida. Boston, not so much that they got rid of him. I understand what Sweeney is trying to do because it's been a number of years where they've been putting out pretty much the same team for the most part and getting the same kind of results. And this year, it started from the beginning of the year when they mishandled the whole uh, Swayman situation and how that was negotiated and went out to the public. And it seemed to have a bit of a divide in the room a little bit. But to trade Marchand within the division to a team that's their nemesis, but I don't know. I guess they saw the return to be better than the exchange, and maybe who knows, maybe they even know that Marchand's not going to sign with them at the end of the year. He might go right to free agency or maybe even retire. Who knows? But those are definitely some of the things that stood out. The final one I would end off with, I think Ottawa really, kind of did a good job in beefing themselves up. They picked up Dylan Cousins, and that was huge for them. But I thought even bigger was the fact that San Jose let Zetterlund go, and that I thought a 25-year-old winger is going to really help Ottawa, give them the depth that they need. So those are just some of them.
Great point about that. But before we go somewhere else, we have to celebrate. We got a super chat, guys, for our friend Ralph. The A's talk about the Florida Panthers who want to follow this. He said, what a trade deadline. And then, guys, the Panthers may not have a pick for 11 years, but they will be fun to watch. He is right about that. So let's celebrate the Ralph super chat. He did a super chat. Thank you,
Hi,
Mr.
hi.
Ralph. Thanks so much for this super chat, Ralph. $4.99. I appreciate a lot, my friend. You're right about that. I think we can consider Florida Panthers as a winner of the traded line with that channel, Zeb Jones and honestly Brett Marchand. This is a team right now. You have to consider Devin on make the final against this year. For the Florida Panthers. How you feel about that with Zeb Jones and Brett Marchand?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're obviously doing what they feel like they have to do. I think they probably, with Matthew Tkachuk being out for a significant amount of time, I guess that did two things. One, it forced them to maybe bring some people in to try and replace him. It also gave them some room cap wise with the LTIR situation. So, in that sense, they kind of went both ways. But again, they're doing what they feel they need to do. And if the chemistry's right, and if Seth Jones can fill the role there, and if Brad Marchand can be the right guy there, then that'll definitely propel them forward. I still think they're going to be one of the favorites anyway in the Eastern Conference, and we'll see how that goes. As far as what they do against the Western Conference, I think that's probably going to be a bit of a tough haul for them. But I think it's looking more and more like Toronto, Tampa, and Florida in the East right now. Right, those are the three ones that seem to be standing as well. Washington, I guess, as well, but those are the three that are going to be at least at this point look like they're going to be the most competitive. So Florida did what they felt they needed to do, and they weren't prepared to just lay down with the Tkachuk injury. They went out and brought some new blood in, and I think Marchand with his experience will probably help them. And he obviously plays a similar role to Tkachuk, so that'll be interesting to see how he fills that role while Tkachuk is out, and then it'll be really interesting to see how they both play together when they're back in the lineup. So that'll be fun to watch. It'll be interesting.
You're absolutely that. You have some, for me, it's like the mindset or the way they have different vision, right? For the different GM, how they make a trade at the deadline, where like Junior Brisebois does not count on the act, on the picks. He go on the asset. The Flip Panthers does the same thing, and we have a good core. You are very flexible to do that. For me, surprise for me is honestly the Boston Bruins, how they quickly sell everything around. Frederic Brasso, Carlo is a big core. Shocked me honestly. Don Sweeney want to retools quickly, turn around, and we'll see. They need a lot of asset at Boston Bruins. In the last couple of years, they trade a lot of first round, and we'll see what's going to happen with the Boston Bruins. And after, before we talk about the Montreal Canadiens, guys, how surprised are you at the Islanders where they have a couple of players they could trade and they own only really on the Nelson situation? Why I think they'd make a good trade and return also Nelson.
Well, Nelson, you kind of the writing was kind of on the wall. It was very emotional for him. I don't think he wanted to leave. They just didn't obviously feel they wanted to go that direction, or at least the money wasn't there, whatever the case might be. I think though, in landing a prospect like Caleb Ritchie in the exchange, I think that's good for them. That's the direction they should have been going along for a number of years, rather than remaining in that middle zone of the league all the time and never moving up or down for that matter. The one I was shocked about was them re-signing Palmieri, like at I think 34, 35 years of age. Like I get it, he's had a decent year, and last year was a good year too for him, but he's very injury prone. He's well past his best years, and I found that one a little bit surprising as well. But uh, I'm a little bit shocked with the way the Islanders handled it all.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I don't know what Boston did today, Mr. Tap. Maybe Islanders should do that 2, 3 years ago. I believe,
Yes, absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
Peugeot, Emery, Nelson,
Yeah.
and then I think I don't know. I think you should consider like maybe Palace or Pulak at some point to make a trade right there to give open spot. The prospect they are good, like a Cole Ezerman, right? Is maybe the best prospect they have, but still, this is a team I was expecting a bit more movement on the day. But before we move on, we're going to go talking about honestly the Montreal Canadiens, and I will start with David about that. Give me your overview of how you feel about that. Montreal did not is one of the 4 teams in NHL with Calgary did not have any move during the trade deadline. Feel comfortable with that? What kind of message that give to you from Ken Hughes to make any move, and what your expectation after that? And go from there. And then we're going to add more question to you, Devin, after that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if anybody had the chance to listen to. I'm sure some of you did, to listen to Kent Hughes's press conference afterwards, and I think he spelled it out pretty clearly that there are certain philosophies in place with this team that are kind of non-negotiable, and he's going to maintain that. It sounds like there was an effort to try and do a couple of things that didn't work out. I don't think they were prepared to sacrifice any significant amount of the future to bring a player in. Um, I don't think they were looking to unload guys. Everyone was talking about Dvorak. Evans obviously re-signed, Savard and Armia. He talked about the fact that he had a conversation with Nick Suzuki and said, like, if you want me to leave the group together, then prove it to me, sort of thing. And he said they've done that and more than done that. Not just as a team, but individually. Nick Suzuki has proven it to him. So I think there's we often talk about sending a message to the players that you're going to help them out or whatever. There's two ways to do that, right? There's you can add by sending them somebody to help them, or you can also keep the group together. And I think for this team, I think keeping the group together was more important. And it helps for the culture, right? We talk about them building a culture here and building a group that likes to play together and that has a certain level of it's like a family. There's a camaraderie there, and so I think the message that he wanted to send to this team is that they've earned the right to stay together, and that he wasn't going to go and try and even if guys are on expiring contracts and they may lose them for nothing in the off season, he's going to at least give them an opportunity to see what they can do together for the next couple months. And, if they make the playoffs, great. If they don't, that's okay too. But if they do make the playoffs, they'll have done it together as this group that have, grown up together over the last couple of years. And it'll be something that they can, take pride in their own way, as opposed to, going out and bringing in a couple of free agents and getting rid of a couple of the guys who have been part of the group all along. I think that's kind of the message that he got from the team, and I think it's the message that he gave them back. So I'm happy with that. I'm really happy with that. And again, as he explained, though, being in the playoffs was not, that's ahead of the plan right now. And so that's anything as far as making the playoffs this year is gravy for them, and he's just happy to see them experience quote unquote meaningful games and to keep the group together, right? Keep the band together and see what they can do between now and the end of the season.
Before in our tap, you jump, I have a question. One more question for you, Devin. You talk about, if they make the playoff, it would be great if we turn up. If they miss the playoff by a couple of points, and this question is coming from N26 of the show prior, we just did the Laval Rocket. How do you see that? Like a negative? Because Kenny did not move, and if he did a move, that would be Montreal make the playoff. We see not at all. For you, it's like, no, we play meaningful game. They get a good push, and I still believe it was good anyway. It was not can use a problem at ever would not happen to make the playoff.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, I don't think it would be any problem of Kent Hughes. Obviously, it's for the players. It's going if they miss the playoff by 2 points, at the end of the season, or they lose the last game of the year to miss the playoffs by 1 point or 2 points. Yeah, that's going to sting and it's going to suck for a few days. But I think once they have a time to think about it and sit back and reflect, I think they'll realize that doing so will have been a vast improvement on last year and the year before that. And I think they'll be able to see the progress that means for this team, and then I think they'll also take significant experience from that, right? I mean, losing the playoff spot that late in the season is something that those guys will be able to use as a motivator and as as an experience, as they go forward and become a team that's expected to make the playoffs, right? They'll know what that feeling feels like. They'll know, oh, what didn't we do? Like, what didn't we do that we could have done that could have pushed us that extra point or that extra 2 points to get us into the playoffs. So I don't believe that, because of the expectations of this team. The expectations of this team, if we'd all sat together, before the first game of the season, I don't think any of us would have said that it would be a disappointment for this team to miss the playoffs this year, right? We, obviously, part of us, we wanted them to see them make the playoffs, but I think we all knew that it was going to be a bit of a long shot for them to do so. And, I think the players get that too. And obviously, like I said, they all want to win. They want to win the Stanley Cup. And I think it would be a painful thing to lose a playoff spot that late in the season. But again, upon reflection later on, as the season moves on, I think they'll all, one, realize that it was a great season and that, it was largely successful. And two, that they gained some really, really valuable experience that they'll be able to use as the rebuild progresses.
Great point, Evan. I appreciate a lot. I think you nailed a lot of things right there in our tap. So what I have to tell us, but in our tap, I'm going to change a little bit this way. This one there, you can talk a little bit more about what about the no move from Ken Hughes, something like that. But when you consider that, the fact like the way they keep the team together, the Jake Evans, the Christian Dvorak, the David Savard, the Joel Amia. He leave a message for the rest of the team. He met Nick Zuski during the break. And then after that, the rental player they will get on the market, example like today, look like they keep them, right? The four players the three players just talking about, said that they use and they're going to keep Owen Beck to the end. So they not get a second center, whatever it could be. You can name it. It's not at the end of the day. Now, with that comments, you're going to talk about the Montreal Canadiens. I want to add one more subject about Owen Beck. How do you feel Owen Beck overall with the Montreal Canadiens? Is it good? Is it bad? Positive? Negative? How you feel about that? And you can go through the Montreal Canadiens trade deadline 2025.
Yeah, I'll probably start with the latter part of that question and sort of piggyback on what Devin was saying earlier. I mean, the other thing Hughes had to consider was it's not just Montreal he was keeping in mind. It was also where Laval is and how they're working out and moving together as a unit in the AHL, and they're doing extremely well. And he was concerned that if he gets rid of some of his upcoming free agents, he's going to have to either bring in some of the players from there, and it could disrupt the chemistry on both ends. So that was another consideration. And also at this time of the year, guys, let's be honest, right? Like a lot of GMs lose their mind, and it almost becomes like Boxing Day, right? Sometimes you're walking in the mall and you see this lineup that goes right around the corner, and you're wondering, hey, what's going on here? Well, they're selling this TV at a crash price of $200. Well, you get in line as well. Hey, I got to get one for $200 as well. Meanwhile, you have 10 of them at home. It just doesn't make sense. And if you're not careful, it's easy to get caught in the whole paraphernalia of the day and do something that could harm the team long run. Now, when it comes to Beck, coach, you know how I think highly of Beck. I always have, and I think him coming up here, he's proven that he's pretty much NHL ready. My only concern is I don't think it's at the 2C spot. That's the problem, and that's what I was trying to point out yesterday in the chat as well. I know that there aren't many other options, but I'd rather put somebody there that at least has some NHL experience. Whoever you want to put there, like it's been pretty much by committee all year long. I mean, our biggest issue has been that second line not contributing to the level of the other three lines. I would like to see him sort of slowly come into the fold. Yes, be there to experience, but I don't think 8 minutes is enough, to be honest with you. Like, I know that was just the last game against Edmonton, but I think he should slowly gain experience and success by being either on the third or the fourth line, wherever you want to put him. And I think he can contribute more effectively in that manner. But I'm not disappointed with Beck. I think this is a great opportunity for him to step up and say, "Hey, look, I belong," and that's where it's at right now. And just like it was an evaluation period for Doc for the whole year until he got hurt, well, now it's an evaluation period for Beck to see where exactly he fits in.
Yeah, about that. And I'm sorry about that. I answer to Marco right there. Look, I think for me, this is positive all the way. In my opinion, this is great for Owen Beck because right now he play NHL. He play meaningful game. He feel what it takes. Imagine, guys, do you think you have not have the same kind of pressure to play in NHL, play for the playoff race versus an American Hockey League? This is black and white. So for me, for just the fact he part of this team, how the players talk about, what the players think about, how they prepare themselves, how the team set their commitment every single game, how the reaction of Martin St. Louis, the coaching staff, everything like that. This, I'm telling you right now, this is priceless. You talk about the meaningful game, it's not for Gallagher, it's not for Madison, it's for Beck, Caulfield, Sakoski. Those young men are going to learn something. 8, 9 minutes for me right now is 16 and 20 minutes with Laval walkout. In my opinion. If he was not play 8 minutes for 50 game with Montreal, I can understand in October, November. But
Yeah,
what they at right now, at the end of the season, where every shift count. Everything they do count. This is a great experience. He's going to be back in Laval after that. He's going to get a run on the playoff. We'll see what happened with Laval Rocket. This is a great for Owen Beck at the end of the day. And just sit on the bench to watch what's going on around him. It's already a good. It's a good thing for him. Now, said that, the last game, he had power play PK. I think that's affect. But Montreal Canadiens right now, Martin St. Louis have one thing. It's to make the playoff. It's to win game. And if he was to play 2 minutes, he would play with two lines if he have to. One change happening last game. This is the first time I didn't see this all year long. He let Caulfield Suzuki play the full 2 minute they've been on the power play. That's just give us right now the switch of Martin St. Louis, how every game is important. For me, yes, understand play 17, 18 minutes Laval, but right now where they at, this is going to be forever. Like Caulfield and Sakeski. Remember, like Caulfield and Suzuki, Devin and Artab, when they pop up at the playoff time with Tampa Bay Lightning and 2020 or 2021. That was a great experience for Suzuki and Caulfield to learn about that. And I think
Sure.
for me, that's the same way I see Owen Beck right now. I think this is a great opportunity for them. Unfortunately, this is the second line at some point, but the Montreal Canadiens, after the first line, who really the second line, third line, fourth line? It's you know what I mean. They don't use that way anyway at this moment at the end of the season. Only 20 game. I see this good. If an opportunity, I think can use we make a chance, but you don't see anything for that. I think that's okay at the end of the year for me. That's what I see about that. So I would like to be him to play 12, 13 minutes, of course. But this is just good. I don't know how you feel about that, David.
Yeah, I agree with that. The only thing I would add to it, I mean, I guess I'll say a couple things. One, I think you're right. I think this is a great experience for him, and this is an experience that's invaluable. I think playing in Laval would also be a great experience as well, a different experience, and I think I agree with you that this is probably in some ways a better experience. What I also what was coming to my mind when you were talking was also it's a challenge for Owen Beck, right? And it's for the Montreal Canadiens, it's interesting to see. It'll be interesting for them to see how he responds to that challenge because he's a kid who's done spectacular things already in his career, whether it's winning the Memorial Cup, all of this stuff that he's already done, and he's always stepped up to the challenge, right? He always met the challenges head on. This is one of the things that I think they really, really liked about him, and one of the reasons why they drafted him was because he was a kid who always met the challenge. Like he was, he had talent obviously, but he also was a gamer, right? He's a guy who plays the best when it's the most pressure and the most important and whatever. And I mean, I agree with you, Entertap, as well. Like he's never going to be a second line center for the Montreal Canadiens. I don't think that that's his projection, and I don't think that's what anybody expects of him. But that's the role they need him to fill right now. And ideally, he'll be playing well enough that Marty St. Louis feels comfortable giving him more than 8 or 9 minutes a game, and that'll come. But as Marco says in the chat, he's not hurting the team right now, right? He may not be contributing production wise in any significant way, but he certainly isn't. He's not minus 10 after 10 games or something like that. He's not harming the team in any real sense. So I agree with both of your points about Owen Beck. And then, like I said, the only thing I would add to it is just this idea that, they're presenting him with a challenge. And I think so far he's passing that challenge. And it'll be interesting to see if he can even rise to the occasion even more as time goes on, because it looks like he's going to get, a fair bit more chance to play in that role. Because after today, there doesn't seem to be any relief coming his way. So we'll see how it goes. It'll be fun. I mean, that last game is a bit of an anomaly. You're playing against the Oilers, right? It's different than when you're playing against the Sabres or San Jose. So, but it'll be interesting to see. And I think, again, he's not a kid who's failed very many challenges so far in his career. And I don't think he's looking to start doing that now.
Good point about that. And our time, I know you you bring a couple of information about Beck. How do you think about overall what you just said about that?
No, I totally agree with it. Like I said, I just want to see him in positions that where he's slowly going to experience success, right? And you also have to look at uh, what his fortes are, like what his strengths are, right? And if it's about showing grit, then obviously he has to demonstrate that. If it's about, which I think it is, also winning face-offs, then you got to put him in more situations than just one or two face-offs all game. Like I think these opportunities will present themselves more if, let's say, Montreal slowly starts becoming detached from the pack and is not clearly in the mix anymore, then they can experiment a little bit more. So you'll see that happening, and I think I agree, Devin. I think he's going to rise to the occasion. Like I said, I've always thought the moon of Beck, because I think he has great. He thinks the game really, really well when he's playing, and he doesn't make a lot of mistakes. And it's these little things that you don't see, right? Like sometimes you'll look at the score sheet and say, well, he didn't get any points. He was zero in the plus minus and played only 8 minutes. Well, he wasn't effective. Well, let's look closely and see,
Yeah.
exactly what he did. How many, other things did he do right that contributed maybe for other players to experience that success?
Great comment about that, both of you for the Montreal Canadiens. We'll go to see a little bit more what happening during the day, guys. On the trade, very quickly. If you feel something, pay attention. We're going to talk more about this, like Toronto trade forward Ray Johnson for Michel Wall for future concession, the best player on the planet. That's an off top about that. The Toronto get Brandon Carlo for the Boston Bruins for the forward, Fraser Menden, a continued first round pick, a 4 round pick, and this is a huge trade for the Boston Bruins. Are you agree with that? For to get them a first round pick, a conditional first round pick, a Fraser Menden. Uh, how you feel about that, Devin?
Well, I mean, if they are moving towards rebuilding, then that's that's a pretty good start, right? You've added a pretty decent prospect, a very decent prospect, a better than decent prospect, and a first round pick. That first round pick's probably not going to be very high, but it's still a first round pick. And again, these are things that you want to be doing if you're planning to rebuild or retool. Is you got to move your veterans and get long term assets in place, and that's a pretty good a good start for Boston.
Great point about that. I think for me, this trade helped the Toronto Maple Leaf. They have now Danev and Carlo. That's
Hmm.
good for the defenseman for that. And I think if Menden, I think he opened the door when they traded Charlie Coy. So I think that would be another one over there. So good trade about that. We know over there we talk about the Brett Marchand trade for the Boston Bruins. I think that trade is very interesting because I thought he's going to get more in return for Brett Marchand. I don't know why they don't get more and why they trade him to the Atlantic Division and after. Are you surprised on that? Or how you feel about that? Like we know what Marchand is. We talk about the trade, but the fact he get only second round pick, is it reason
Well,
behind that?
yeah, I think it's the fact that he's a UFA at the end of the year, and they probably realize this is just merely a rental for them, right? It's a different story if they had intentions of signing him for, let's say, a further extension of 3 or 4 years with the team, and so that's why when you know you're going to lose that asset, you're not gonna give as much as you would if you were going to obviously sign him on like Rantanen did later on with Dallas. Um, I I'm surprised, like I said earlier, Coach. I'm surprised that it was within the division. I didn't. There was more than just one trade today that was within the division, which was very surprising. Usually teams try to stay away from that. But I guess if it's a rental, and in the end, like Boston probably figures, okay, just by their actions today, they figure, okay, we're not going to make the playoffs more than likely, and we're not going to be meeting up with any of these teams, especially where he landed. So what's the harm if we kind of maybe behind the scenes know, because we talked to Brad Marchand, that he's not going to be signing on with them at the end of the year. So at the end of the day, it's more a business I think sometimes we let our emotions and feelings get in the way. Like once upon a time, it was almost deemed disloyal to leave a team, right? If this team drafted you, you pretty much stayed with that team your entire career for the most part. But the business has changed, the league has changed, and it's all about managing the assets in the best way possible for team success.
Good point about that. Following that, one trade I think is underrated and is a surprise for me is Fabian Zederland trade to the Ottawa Senators. This is a great and return. They got Austin Chuck, and Noah Grader, a second round pick. I think should be better for the Sharks to get from the Ottawa Senators to trade Fabian Zederland. Zederland was involved on the trade for Timo Meyer. Look, I think he have 18, 20 goals this season. You can see when he played against Montreal Canadiens, he was really good. I really like that trade. After that, Boston got the defenseman Uri Kahu for the Buffalo Sabres. He's struggling this season, helped to score a couple of games. Daniel Sprong, again, go from the Seattle Kraken for the Devils. This could be a little bit good trade for the Devils for the depth at the bottom. About that, a minor trade for Hurricane to get Mike Jankowski. No problem. Go the glass, churn the team again. It's crazy about that. For the forward, Chase Simpson and Matt Graham. It's a bit surprised for me that they will give up on Chase Simpson. A little bit surprised. The big trade, honestly, guys, is Mikko Rantanen for the Canada Hurricane for Logan Stankoven. I think the Dallas, they really like Stankoven, honestly. This is a good news for Maverick Bourque because you cannot have Bourque and Stankoven in the same. 2 first-round pick, by the way, in return. That's pretty good. The Chicago got the forward Arku Ratti, and but it's not the Ratti from for the Vancouver Canucks, by the way, for the defenseman Soder's Ram and Shea Weber. So Weber maybe start to play next week, Mr. Nartap. We never know what could happen about that. A very minor trade, Nicolas Obi Bennett, Eric Johnson also returned in Colorado, the veteran. Charlie Coy on that one for Casey Middlestat. David, how you feel about that trade?
Yeah, I think you could make an argument that the Avalanche might be the winner of this trade deadline. I mean, again, it all depends on how things work out, but they've added a few players here that are going to really make a difference. I think down the stretch, they've their center position has improved greatly. I can't think who they got. Coyle and they got somebody else. Who did they? They got another centerman as well. Did they not?
Brock Nelson. Brock Nelson.
Oh, right, Brock Nelson. Right. So now they've gone from, Middlestat as their second line center to now having, Coyle and Brock Nelson as their second and third. I think their third line center is now going to be better than their second line center was before, right? Certainly production wise. So again, assuming that the chemistry works and people all fit into the spot that they're supposed to. So I think this is a great move. I mean, I'm not a big fan of them giving up on Cal Ritchie because I think Cal Ritchie was a good prospect, but I think that they've identified a position of weakness, and they went out and shored it up. And frankly, I mean, if you look at the West right now, the Avalanche I think are as dangerous as any team in the West. Like they're right up there. They're right up there. I mean, obviously they've lost Rantanen, and now, by some strange maneuvering, they'll now have to play the Avalanche because they'll have to play Rantanen because now he's moved back to the Western Conference again. But I think that this trade and the Brock Nelson trade, I think for Colorado has really improved their team significantly.
Great point, Evan. And after that, you will get 4 trades. First of all, Toronto Maple Leafs got Scott Lawton for the Flyers. Following by the Jet got Brendan Danev for the Seattle Kraken. The Blue Jacket got Luke Connin. And the Detroit Red Wing got the Peter Marechek and the forward Greg Smith. So you can see 4 different teams bring some kind of depth for the playoff, or the fact that the Detroit Red Wings um, got for goaltender. But how you feel? What specific trait you can see that could make a huge difference for the team during the playoff, upcoming playoff for 2025 and after?
Well, for me, I gotta believe it's the Leafs. I think that they. I mean, if you had asked them before the trade deadline, what are the two areas that you have to concentrate in terms of improving? It was to get some grit on defense, some size, a puck moving defenseman, somebody that fits into that, and they did with Brandon Carlo. And they needed a gritty forward that is able to, obviously contribute to penalty kills and just be a nuisance in everybody's face, and that's a Scott Lawton. Like, it went down to the wire, guys. But I think that the Leafs did a decent job of sort of solidifying their forward positions, getting a little bit more grit on the team, and addressing the defense as well. So I kind of liked what the Leafs did. I was kind of worried that not much was going to materialize, especially when some of the bigger names were flying off the board. But they did get in there, and I understand that they had offered quite a package, I believe, for Rantanen as well. And in a way, I would say it's a good thing they didn't do that, because they were giving up a lot, and B, I don't think they really needed a Rantanen type of player on that team. I think they needed to really sort of address their areas of weakness, and they have in the interim time. With Winnipeg, Coach, I thought it would have been great if they could have got another forward, but I think their area of greatest need was defense, and I think by bringing in both Brandon Tanev and Luke Schenn, they bring in two big, solid, hard. Brandon Tanev is actually a bottom six forward, so they got that. But bringing in Luke Schenn, I think they brought in somebody with a pedigree, knows how to win, has been there before, has won the cup, and really adds to that team. Like, they're complete now in my eyes.
I think, and after you think about that, that bring the physicality the last one they trade, or they send Dylan to the Devils. I think if you look about Morrissey, you talk about DeMelo, Pionk, they don't have a lot of physicality for
Yeah,
on the
they were
top
being
four.
pushed around.
I
Yeah,
think that would be
yeah,
good for they get Luke Shine about that. And then that brings some kind of speed and a PK for them too. I think that's pretty good overall for that team. You put like Lowry with Daneb, that's pretty good on the third line. We need a Raider. I think it'll be a steady line. Is it possible
yeah.
Appleton is out for the rest of the season? Or I'm wrong?
No, I unless something happened today in the game,
No.
I thought he was okay.
Okay.
I thought he
Maybe
was
I
okay.
make a mistake about that. Devin, if you talk about Bouvillier, Jake Wellman to the Edmonton Oilers, a Kosmenko with the Devil with the Kings. How you feel about those three trades? We're not going to talk about Carson. We got talk about this a bit earlier about Nelson, but this is a three-minor trade. But which team get benefit the most on between Kosmenko, the Kings, and then Wellman with the Oilers, and Bouvillier with the Capitals, Devin?
Yeah, I mean, I think Wallman to the Oilers is probably, to me, the best of those trades. I think he'll add some good depth to the Oilers, something they're probably missing a little bit of. So I think that's probably the best of those three trades. The Beauvillier one was really, really strange to me. They traded him for a second round draft pick. Last year, he was traded at the deadline for a fifth round draft pick. And a couple years before that, he was traded at the trade deadline for a fifth round pick as well. So I don't know what Anthony Beauvillier has done over the last year to improve his value from going from a fifth round draft pick to a second round draft pick. But maybe that's a sign about the seller's market that we saw today. So that kind of surprised me with Beauvillier. I just don't I don't see Beauvillier making a huge difference. But I thought that was interesting that last year he was worth a 5th-round draft pick, and now he's all of a sudden worth a 2nd-round draft pick.
Good point about that. And our top, the Jets, the Wild got Brazo from the Boston Bruins, but the New York just got Carson Soucy for the Vancouver Canucks. And also, you got the Winnipeg Jets. I got Chris Traeger from the Florida Panthers for the goalie Capo Canconen. Um, I think Comrie is hurt, if I can recall it, last game. And that's the reason they got maybe another goaltender. But how surprised are you for the Vancouver Canucks? Their trade deadline. They fight for the spot for the playoff right now. They winning 1-0 against Minnesota Wild tonight, and they won. They beat they pass again the Calgary Flames. But the fact they trade, Susie, Mailer, and they don't get anything for Bowser, they're going to lose it. Possibly they can lose it. But how you feel about the Vancouver Canucks, the trade deadline?
I'm sort of in no man's land with them. Like I'm a bit shocked that they're obviously in a playoff position right now. It's the second wild card, or if Calgary jumped ahead of them, they're right there. That they didn't try to do a little bit more to try to improve their situation. Like there's some internal rift going on with that team. We know that when JT Miller left, and it looks like half the team was Team Miller and half the team was Team Pedersen, and he's not producing. Bottom line is Miller's gone now, and the Rangers have made a bit of a push to try to get back into the playoffs, and they're right there at knocking on the door. And Vancouver, who I think should have been pushing right now and been in that either first or second wild card position, is also on the outside looking in. And I think there's a lot of inner searching that they're going to have to do on that team over the summer. But I'll be honest with you, I don't like their chances. I think there's too many question marks at goaltending with the health of the goalies. There's the defense now is, I think, a little bit worse than what it was, and the whole Brock Besser situation. You would think they would have tried to get something for him, and not let him walk to free agency. I mean, they might still retain him. Who knows at the end? But they could have done something with that, and maybe that would have helped to address things. I just don't, with the exception of maybe 3 or 4 players that are really playing their hearts out there, I don't see them making the playoffs.
Good point about that, Devin. And after we're going to go on the next couple for a couple of minutes. The winner and the loser of the team. I make a list with it. Not said they're all winner. I pick up a couple of information on the website, everything like that, or what they consider that. And I want you to be agree, disagree, and maybe some of the team are not mentioned. You feel they are winner. So let's start with this, Devin, and then give me what you think about that. And maybe you can say, that team also should be on the winner, on you consider that. First of all, the Florida Panthers had Zed Jones and Brett Marchand in the last couple of days. This is the 2 big impact for the top 6 and the top 4 bearing. I think the Panthers are looking better today compared like 1 week ago. For the Panthers, I consider a winner team. The star just get Rantanen. It's already a step over everything. They're going to have Dallas again back on the lineup, I believe, for the playoff, everything like that. So Rantanen with the Dallas is a huge trade for them at the end of the day. The Avalanche, I don't know, it's what, 9 plus, 10 plus now since the beginning of the season. They are if you consider both goaltender, Devin, Edgewood,
6.
Blackwood.
6.
I'm sorry?
I think it's 6 altogether, the changes that they made.
So it's crazy. Yeah, but I think for the trade deadline, but if you consider all the trade they did during the season, I think they are more at that.
Goalies. Yeah.
How about that? The Bulls got Bogstrand and guards. The Boston Bruins, with all the first round pick for the team, retools, everything like that, they get Menten, everything like that. I think they are another team. The Ottawa Senators, for me, they are really active. This is a team right now. They believe they can make the playoff. Some people will be questionable Pinto for Cousin, more for the culture or the relationship between players. maybe hurt the locker room. There would be a really interesting case for that. But Zetterlund fixed their problem. But again, the reason they're looking for defensemen when you have Chick Run, they gave away Chick Run to Capitals with now 18 goals. That's not good for the Ottawa Senators or for say for them. But still consider the Islanders, I think they got something good in return for Nelson. The Sharks really active today. They gave a lot of players out, but I think they get a lot of assets in return. That's what they're looking for, a rebuilding team. And the Leaf, they that was the biggest name on the market, but he got something big for what they have some old and the player where they can play the role inside the team. I think this is a good fit for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I can go with other team, guys. You have to mention maybe we forgot name there or the people in the chat. You can give us maybe your winner team or the trade deadline. So let's start with Devin about that. You can go review just the talk I'm talking about the team, or maybe a team we don't talk about. So you know what? I consider the team another winning for the trade deadline, Mr. David.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, again, typically when we talk about winners after a trade deadline, we're talking about teams that were buyers, right? Where it's rare. Sometimes a team that does nothing is a team that did really really well, and we're probably not going to talk about them because there's not really much to talk about. For me on that list, my three big winners out of that list that you've got there now would be probably the Avs, the Sens, and the Leafs. I think the Avs have done a really good job, as I talked about earlier, about they've shored up their team up the middle that was identified as a weakness. I think they've improved greatly at that position, and they brought some centers in who can play with with their second and third line guys, and I think that's going to really help them down the road and into the playoffs. I mean, obviously it remains to be seen, but it certainly looks that way. I thought the Sens did a really good job. I thought they added a few really good good pieces. I still wonder about the leadership aspect of things in Ottawa. It's not so much about bringing in good hockey players. I think they've had good hockey players for some time now. I think, in Ottawa, it's a lot about the leadership and the guys at the top of that team, like the top end guys on that team, and whether they have the leadership to carry that team to where they're trying to go. And maybe the biggest winner out of everybody, I think, might be the Toronto Maple Leafs, right? As as much as it might pain a Montreal Canadiens fan to say it, I think they're going into the last month and a half or 2 months of a hockey season in as good a shape as we've seen in a really long time, right? Their goaltending appears to be pretty solid. Their defense, with the additions of Tanev at the beginning of the year and OEL and now adding Brandon Carlo, it appears that they've shored up that aspect of their game quite well, and they've added some good depth pieces on forward as well. And so again, it's all going to come down as to whether or not their big guys can perform in the playoffs, and that's always going to be the question for the Toronto Maple Leafs. But I think they've done a really good job. I mean, they've mortgaged their future a little bit. They've gotten rid of one of their top prospects, or two of their top prospects, and some draft picks to do it. But I think they're going into the last part of the season in pretty good shape.
And after that,
I mean, the ironic part is when you look at these teams, and yes, each one had their own victories today in terms of being deemed winners, and as you said, they did fill their own necessary gaps. But that first round, whether it's the East or the West, like half of these teams are out in that first round. If you think about that and what they've spent today, it's mind-boggling for sure. In terms of what they've acquired, I mean, we've talked about the obvious ones. I thought one team that's not there, that maybe if you look at it in terms of where they are in their development and had to do something to move forward, I thought Seattle. I know they gave up Zetterlund, and that wasn't the greatest, but they did acquire 2 firsts and a second. And then with the Brandon Tanev, they also got another second round pick there as well. So, I mean, they can easily, bundle up some of these picks and move up in the draft, or use them to pick up some valuable players to address some of their areas. So I kind of consider that a victory for them as well, with players maybe that will fit in nicely with the young core group that they have. They're already relatively strong up the middle, but they have to address their defense. Uh, from what I see, Seattle has, 6 defensemen that are either second or third pairing defensemen. They really need to improve that area, and or I would even throw in goaltending, perhaps with them as well. Um, Colorado, like very strong up the middle now. When you put both Nelson and Coyle with McKinnon there, you can't debate that. Defensively, they've always been strong, and I think they've improved also in their goaltending when they got Blackwood and Wedgwood as well as a competent backup to him. So it's going to be tough. Like, I mean, the prize right now is to try to finish first in your division, so that you get one of these wild card teams that sort of ekes into the playoffs, and that pretty much will be their Stanley Cup. The fact that they made it to the playoffs. Uh, I'm not saying that they'll walk all over them, but they won't have as challenging a time as whoever finishes second and third in I would say all 4 respective divisions. So it's just unfortunate that you're going to see an exit of at least 4 solid teams in that first round. And that, on the same hand, that's what makes it exciting, right? As a fan, watching these games. Usually, by the time we get to the Stanley Cup playoffs, it's or not to the finals, it's less exciting as it is in the first couple of rounds.
Good point about that, for sure. I like great comments in the chat, guys. The chat is on fire left and right. PLW is all about the Carolina Hurricane right now. Billy, welcome back. Ryan, welcome back. Al, welcome back. Another people pop up at the last minute. Thanks so much to be a part. We're going to extend a bit more minute the show if you don't mind, because when you have a winner, Mr. Attack, what we have a loser,
Loser.
unfortunately. And I think for the loser, I'm going to give you some name right there. It could be wrong. Maybe Devin, like you did at the first exercise, you can give us maybe other team. But the Devils, I believe, for me, they are the loser on that. The Canucks, like we went talk a little bit earlier about that. The Buffalo Sabres, guys, I shake my head about that. The Hurricane, for me, as a loser. PLW think they are winning. The Detroit Red Wings, for me, is another loser. And the Los Angeles Kings is another one over there. Whatsoever, the best 6 division, guys, the Vegas did not move a lot. Riley Smith. Kings maybe add Kuzmenko. The Oilers add Stallman. And then they got a trade for Jones, honestly, for that. But how you feel about those loser or maybe other team, Devin?
Yeah, I mean, you guys talked about the Canucks earlier. I think the Canucks are just in such disarray right now. I thought last year I thought they were on the right track a little bit, but between, the injury to Demko and then the Pedersen JT Miller situation, and then, the aftermath of all of that. And, I just think that whole organization is just such a mess. I don't know that they know what to do, right? I don't think I think they probably thought they were in a window to be Stanley Cup contenders. And then all of a sudden, things fell apart, and, it seems like they don't really know what direction to go in right now. The Sabres have kind of been in that mode for, a decade and a half now, where they just don't seem to have any vision or any consistency in what they do. Like, it's like every move they make is a reaction. There's no sort of long-term plan with them. And, it's almost like every move is a separate move. There's, no moves are sort of, designed to work with one another. So the Canes are probably, losers. I guess it's probably smart that they realized that they weren't going to be able to sign Rantanen, and they were smart enough to get something in return for him. But I think overall they probably didn't fare that well. And I guess the Kings, I think the Kings were probably in the hunt for Mikko Rantanen, and when that fell through, they kind of didn't have a backup plan, or that was sort of, they were putting all their eggs in that basket. So it's tough, because you look at teams like the Devils and the Canucks especially. those are two teams that we all thought were kind of at the beginning of the year they were on the rise, right? They were the next batch of teams that were going to work their way into contender status, and neither of them seem to be making that move, and injuries and all kinds of different circumstances are affecting them. So I mean, I don't know which one I would pick out of that entire group as the loser of this trade deadline. Yeah, I mean, the Devils got Jonathan Kovacevic signed for $20 million, so maybe they're a winner in that sense. But yeah, I don't know. I think all of those teams probably didn't fare that well in the deadline, but it's hard for me to pick one. I mean, I guess the Canes, would be the obvious choice, but I think I would say the Devils, Canucks, Sabres, and Canes all would certainly fit the bill as biggest losers for this deadline.
Tap.
I'm most shocked with Buffalo. I'll be honest with you. It's not just based on this year, but I think the way things have been handled over the years, and you have finally a collection of some good young prospects. But again, they're not doing anything to really address their biggest gap, which is trying to develop an identity and some leadership on that team. You bring in Josh Norris, and I think that's great. But I mean, you pretty much have given up on Cousins in order to do that for somebody that. And again, it's hard to say that use the word they're injury prone, but if you look at his years that he's played, he's never played more than I think 64 games in the year, and he has I think a couple of concussions on top of some of the injuries that he's had. So that's a huge gamble. If he stays healthy, I think it's good for Buffalo, but I think overall they probably lost out on that. And it's like I said, it's just mind-boggling to me the way they keep giving away some of their best prospects and don't seem to learn their lesson from previous years. The Canes are also in a situation where they're slowly starting to see their window disappear in terms of being a true Stanley Cup contestants for that and team. And I don't know. I think Logan Stankoven will be good for them. He seems to be the kind of player that fits into that mold, but I don't see how they've addressed some of their areas of need. And to have lost Natchez to get Rantanen without the assurance that you were going to be able to sign him, and then you lose him. That's a huge loss in my eyes. So I would put those two teams probably at the top of it all.
Good point about that. Yeah, other team honestly they don't have the trade line to make a big impact. Some of them are on the raise, and they feel like it was not necessary to do that. If you consider with all we just talked about this, you have now, if you have to give me two team or three team have a chance to make the Stanley Cup final on each side of the conference, or now better today, it was like 48 hours now. The chance to make it is better. And after that, who are they?
I would say in the East, it's gonna. I think the Atlantic Division teams are gonna really beat the crap out of each other. I mean, if you look at even if the Leafs were able to finish first and avoid that first round matchup with either Florida or Tampa, I think Florida and Tampa they're going to beat themselves to a pulp. They're very strong, and obviously, they're going to go into the second round with a lot of injuries or bruises, and it's gonna cost them. So I do like Florida from there, from that coming out of that division. In the other division, I still like Washington. I think that they've shown that they're a solid overall team. And then in the West, I mean, I like Winnipeg. I think that today they really solidified a couple of areas of weakness for themselves. So I will continue to go for them there. And who else?
Do you think the Dallas
It's hard
Stars
to
can have
discount.
Avalanche a better chance today than was?
A little bit, yeah, I think so. I think they did a good job. But like you look at Colorado, and they bring they can play any game with you, right? You want to skate, they can skate. You want to play a more rugged game, they can do that as well. They have solid goaltending. When you have, I'd say, two of the best players in the league in McKinnon and McCarr. We saw last night the kind of damage that collectively they can do, getting 11 points in that game. These guys are hard to stop. They both skate well. They've been there before and they've won the cup before. They're going to be hard to slow down. I agree with that assessment.
Good point about that. Mr. Devin, the Edmonton Oilers, the Los Angeles Kings, are they better today? They was like 48 hours compared to the team like Colorado, Dallas, and the Winnipeg Jets.
Not compared to those three teams. I think Edmonton's probably a little bit better. I don't know that LA is any better. Um, the Oilers, I think, have done a little bit of work to improve their depth a little bit, and maybe bringing in guys who hopefully will be able to help them in a playoff atmosphere. I don't know that the Kings have. I think for me, if you ask me the question that you just asked Entertap, for me it's the Maple Leafs and the Avalanche. Pretty clearly for me, I think the Maple Leafs did the most to improve themselves in the Eastern Conference, and I think it's the Avalanche in the West. So, if you're asking me to compare what the Oilers and the Kings have done compared to what the Avalanche have done, I don't think they've done nearly as much, and I think that the Avalanche improved themselves probably more than anybody, in my opinion, in the West. Not because they've added the best player, but I think they've done the most to address the concerns that their lineup has. Right, they've done the best job of responding to the weaknesses or the holes in their lineup. Obviously adding Mikko Rantanen to Dallas is huge, and he's probably the best player to get moved today. But the fact that Colorado addressed a significant weakness on their team and improved it greatly, I think to me is the reason why I think they're the team that improved their lot as far as going forward to the playoffs more than any team today.
Great comment about that, Mr. Tap. I don't finish with you, Mr. Tap. Um, and the race of the Eastern Conference, all right? We're going to exclude the Devils here, okay? We don't put Devils, it's still in the third, so they are still 4 points without that. But Columbus, Ottawa, Rangers, Montreal, Detroit, they are now the team can make the playoff. I think I'm going to exclude Boston Bruins, the Islanders, the Flyers now. So between Detroit, Montreal, Rangers, Ottawa Senator, and the Blue Jacket, who are the winner of that trade deadline, or from your opinion?
Are you asking who I think will make the playoffs?
Now, who are the winner of the trade deadline between the team out on the mix right now between Columbus, Ottawa,
Yeah.
Rangers, Montreal, and Detroit?
Well, I don't think the Devils have done much to improve their situation. I think with Hughes out, that's a big hole, and they have Hamilton out. He's week to week, so that hurts as well. Uh, I think by Columbus remaining pretty much they were stand pat at this trade deadline. I think that's a good thing. They realize they have good chemistry on the team right now, and they're winning. They're winning, and as long as you're doing that, why would you disrupt that chemistry that they have going? So I like that. I like what Ottawa did in terms of trying to go all in and picking up a couple of key players for themselves. So I would say those two teams in particular, Columbus and Ottawa, um, improved their situation or their chances most in the East.
Devin, Columbus, Ottawa, Rangers, Canadian, Detroit. Who
You're
are the
asking me
team?
who improved the most?
Yeah,
Same question you just asked Entertap. Yeah, I agree with Entertap. I think it's definitely Ottawa. And I also agree with him about Columbus. I think it's good that they stood pat. I think I think they're in a similar position to the Montreal Canadiens right now, where they're obviously improving greatly from last year. They're on the rise. Making the playoffs maybe wasn't, making the playoffs is ahead of schedule for them right now, like it is for the Canadians. So, I don't think they needed to make any significant trades. Certainly nothing that would have impacted their young players and their prospects. But I think of the teams you named, I think it's pretty clear that the Ottawa Senators are the team that did the most today, or the most sort of in the last week or so leading up to the deadline, to improve their position going, as far as making the playoffs in the Eastern Conference.
yeah. If the chemistry fit well in Ottawa, I think Ottawa win on that. Um, and I think I'm going to surprise all of you. I will send Montreal because Montreal did not do any move, so they keep the team together. I think for compare for the Rangers and for the Detroit Red Wings, I think Montreal on the setup right there. You have to beat Senator the Blue Jacket, and we'll see. I think me one team is a really deep trouble is the Devils. I think if you have a team can
Yeah.
make not make the playoff, is maybe the Devils. On the Western Conference, Devin, between the Calgary, Vancouver, St. Louis Blues, and Utah, they are right now the fourth team for one spot playoff. Not only the traded line, the winner, but the team are going to make the playoff. Is still possible for you to call it, or do you think it's too early?
Oh, I mean, I think it's too early, but the two that stand, I mean, Vancouver, I think I'm going to take out of that equation. Again, like I said, I think Vancouver is a bit of a train wreck right now, and I think there's just too much stuff going on there. That's not to say that they do have some good players. I mean, Elias Pettersson could figure it out, and obviously they've got, arguably the best player in the world in Quinn Hughes. Some people would argue that. So a lot can happen there, but I don't see them really doing it. To me, it's probably between Calgary and Utah. St. Louis. I mean, Pareko is out for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Um, so that's going to be tough for them. I don't. Again, I might have missed a trade or two, but again, I don't know that St. Louis did too much today to improve their team, in any real significant way. Utah, I thought, made a couple of small little trades that might help them, and Calgary, it looks like Calgary pretty much stood pat as well. And as long as they continue to get the good goaltending, and they're just playing solid hockey right now. So, I think if I had to pick two teams, I would say Utah and Calgary. If I had to pick one team, I would pick Calgary out of the group that you listed.
Like right now, the Chicago beat the Utah in overtime, so you don't get a 1 point. But Vancouver and the Blues are winning their game right now. And Vancouver play the Wild, and the Blues play the Ducks. So it'll be very interesting until to the end on that one for sure. And the resume of the day, Mr. Enartap. What pay you the most attention overall for the direct deadline, and what this bring you to said it's going to change the last 20 game remaining of the season for maybe a specific team like the Montreal Canadiens? What do you feel about the Montreal Canadiens right now with no close and no change? How do you feel about their chance to make the playoff, or what are you looking for the Montreal Canadiens after the trade deadline for the Montreal?
Like to answer this, I'll circle back to where we started the show off at, and I said, we can establish here who are some of the winners on paper and who are some of the losers, of course, and some of these teams that just did nothing and stayed pat. Uh, but in the end, there's so many variables that come into play, Coach. Will these players work well together? How long will it take them to sort of gel as lines and as a team? Uh, does it do more harm than good? Right? Like you don't have to look further than what happened in Nashville this year with that experiment when they brought in about three different players in Stamkos and Marchessault and the defenseman as well. That escapes my mind right now, but it didn't work out very well. I'm surprised even Nashville that wasn't more active. To be honest with you, I thought that they were going to probably try to clear house a little bit. It's tough to sort of assess from that perspective, but you got to believe on paper. Like Dallas did good stuff to move themselves. I thought Colorado did as well. I think you look at teams in the East with Florida and Tampa. Like Tampa brought some. They didn't bring big names, but they brought guys that they're familiar with and that will give them the depth that they need because that was a big area of concern, and they've addressed that. So it's it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out in the end. And of course, the team that stays healthy and goes into the last, I'd say, 15 games on a winning streak is going to be the strongest position to do well in the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree about that one there. Um, Before David, I would say me, I think for me, the most difficult right now for the playoff is the Edmonton Oilers. I think Oilers made the final last year. There was one game to win the Stanley Cup. But right now, I don't see they can repeat. Um, Whatever they add, Wallman and Jones, and I don't see that. I think that right now, when you look about what Dallas did, what the Colorado did, who they are, the Winnipeg Jet, and I think Vegas as a team together with Anifin, Pedangelo, Hill between the pipe is still better. To only change the owners, Devin, is they have uh, only McDavid and Tressalo. But after that, the defense is not strong. The
Yeah, yeah,
goaltender, it's not looking good. And the right side of the D, it's not fixed. I don't see the mate for me. This is the thing right now. They look around, they said, wait a minute. Um, Not looking good. I know Al is a big fan. He's living in Edmonton, but how you feel about my statement about that, David?
Yeah, I agree with it completely, Coach. I agree. They made it to the final last year. Their lineup looks significantly different from last year and not better. Um, their defense is still. I mean, again, we saw it last night, right? The Both of the goals the Canadians scored last night were on. I guess I mean certainly the Armia goal was
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
a
definitely.
significant defensive lapse. That's not a Stanley Cup contending team that allows a goal like that. Like that was something we would have seen from the Montreal Canadiens in November. That kind of defensive zone coverage, right? Those were not the types of goals that good defensive teams give up. And so I agree with you completely. I mean, I'm not saying they can't get there because it's you bet against guys like McDavid and Draisaitl at your own peril because guys like that can do remarkable things. But again, when you're looking at Dallas and you're looking at Colorado and even Vegas, um, that's tough competition. Winnipeg, obviously, that's tough competition. And
yeah.
I think for Edmonton to get back to the final this year is going to be a long shot.
On the
And
flip
they
side,
better
The
do
David,
it this
only
year because if they don't, then next year, Connor McDavid's going to be making 15 or 16 million dollars a year, and Leon
yeah.
Draisaitl is going to be making his 14 point whatever he's making. And now all of a sudden you're going to have $30 million tied up in two of your players, and then you add $9.5 million that you have to pay to Darnell Nurse, and you've got $40 million tied up in three players. That's a tough recipe for success. So this this could be the closing of the window for the Edmonton Oilers.
and I thought add on that one.
I was just going to add the only caveat that I would add to this that just to be contrarian a little bit is it really matters what the matchups are in the first round for them. I think the fact that they're playing more than likely, it looks like LA, gives them a break right out of the gate because not that LA is a bad team. I think that they're a solid team, but for whatever reason, they seem to have LA's number. Last three playoff series and this year, even in the regular season, they seem to always come out on ahead of them. And the fact that like when you look at the other matchups in that first round, right, you're going to have more than likely like Dallas and I would say Colorado. So there's one solid team eliminated right there. Then when you move to the east, you have like I said, probably let's say Florida and Tampa. One of those two teams are coming out. Um, New Jersey and Carolina. That's another solid team that's probably going to come out. So these strong teams start to eliminate themselves, right? Now they might. I agree with you, Devin. I think though they're not as solid as they were last year, and so they will run into some difficulties as the second and possibly the third round come up. But the matchups are so important.
Good point about that. Look, in our top, we talk about Edmonton and Western Conference, maybe the one now. If you think now, I'm going to remove Devils because Devils right now, I think they are more at the bottom, like at the upper. But if you think about Tampa Bay, Florida,
Toronto.
Toronto, Carolina, and the
Yeah.
Washington, do you feel the
Yeah.
same way for the Carolina Hurricane? They are the loser of compared for all other team and the Eastern. I don't say they have a bad day when I say loser. When I'm considered loser, the chance to win the Stanley Cup is less today compared it was
Yes.
yes the last couple of days versus what happening with other team. And then Devin, you can add after that for what in our tap mentioned about this.
Yeah, absolutely, Coach. Unfortunately, as I was saying earlier, Carolina's had stronger teams in the past, and their biggest hole has always been the inability to have that big goal scorer that they can rely on that gets clutch goals at key times in the hockey game. Uh, and we've seen it in the playoffs. That's what's really dismantled them. Whenever they were trailing in a game, it's hard for them to equalize the score. And when they're ahead, they're a solid defensive team. They play a great system, and they're hard to beat that way. But it's when they fall behind, and this year is no better. I think that they in any way or form they've actually gone the opposite direction and are a bit weaker.
And even how you feel about that?
Yeah, I agree. Obviously they took a long shot with Rantanen and it didn't work. And I think that was kind of their move, and it didn't work out for them. And now it's just I don't think they're a better team. They're not a better team than they were a week ago with Rantanen, and they're not a better team than they were a month ago. When they had Natchez. So I think they've taken a step backwards, which is unfortunate because that's another team that is in the midst of its window to win. And today, unfortunately, they made moves that will probably not help. This is they're in their window to win right now, and the moves they made today will not help them win within that window, and that window will eventually start to close.
Good point about that. I think at the end of the day, this is what's really interesting. Um, you know, Rantanen he was stubborn with 14 million with Colorado. He refused the deal for 13 million point 25 with Carolina, and he signed at the end with $12 million. So, if one person should be fired tonight, is the is the agent and Rantanen? No,
Oh, absolutely.
like it's crazy when you think about that for this situation about that. Overall, guy, we did a very good job for the review of the trade deadline. This is past. Now it's going to be until to the end the race of the playoff and NHL until we reach the playoff, and then we're going to go for NHL draft for 2025, where it's going to be in LA, and we'll see what the Montreal Canadiens are going to do. Very good job, Devin and Artab for that. We'll be back tomorrow night, 7 o'clock for the Calgary Flame and the game again, the Montreal Canadiens. This is a game, both of you, before we leave. The best scenario, this game have to be in overtime because the pick of the Calgary Flame and the pick of the Montreal Canadiens at the end for the NHL draft. And how you feel about that? What are you looking for tonight, for tomorrow night, Devin?
0-0 tie. Is that what we're looking for? A 0-0 tie heading into the shootout, maybe? Yeah, I think it'll be a fun game. I think it'll be interesting to see how the Canadiens respond to, right? You know, the narrative that we're getting is that the team wanted to keep the team together, and that was the message that they sent to Kent Hughes, and Kent Hughes kept the team together, and that's the message he sent to the team. And it will be interesting to see how that plays out for them, right? Like, how do they respond to that? This, you know, they asked for something, they earned something, they were given something. Now, what do they do with it? Do they go out and play like they're, like they can? And I think it'll be fun to watch. It'll be a good game.
And after that,
It'll be interesting because we do know it's pretty much Wolf that's going to be playing, and he's the biggest reason Calgary is where they are. And tomorrow, it has been confirmed that Dobesh is starting for Montreal, and he plays well on the road, so it'll be a good matchup.
are you surprised, Devin? Dobesh start tomorrow? Well, you have a back-to-back game Saturday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
No, I'm not surprised. I think he needs to get in there. He hasn't got in there as much as I thought he would. I think that Martin St. Louis is playing Samuel Montembeault an awful lot, which I understand why he's doing that. But I just thought that they would try to get Dobesh into the net a little bit more. So I'm not surprised. He's been a little bit unorthodox in when he puts Dobesh in the net, but I'm not surprised with the amount of games that Dobesh is getting.
Man, left up.
Agreed.
When a team is back for a long trip, what happening?
Yeah, when they come back from a long trip, it's not a good sign, right? Coming home, they usually lose, but we'll see. We'll
So
buck the system.
how the chance now Montreal win is increasing at what?
I think it's the chances for making the playoffs. You're saying?
No, for the win tomorrow. Now Calgary is back at home for a long trip, so the chance of winning
Oh
is
yeah,
what?
yeah. I would say it's around 60%.
Final score, Mr. Nartap.
4-2 Montreal.
Game winning goal.
Who else? Nick Suzuki.
You know, Devin, in our tap, he like to screw every party we just did. We just talk you and me about overtime. You said no, 4-2. He don't want to give. You can see how he is. We just talk about overtime. No, we go 4-2. That's better for Montreal.
No overtime. No empty net goal.
Devin,
In
final
overtime.
score.
4-3 Montreal, game-winning goal by Josh Anderson.
Oh, that's interesting. Now, here's the
Oh,
problem.
no, so we got to go overtime. Never mind. Overtime. So it's not going to be Josh Anderson. Game-winning goal, Cole Caulfield.
And what is interesting,
Josh
guys?
Anderson
Once the
not gonna
Calgary
be-
Flame don't give more at 2 goals, they win the game like they are. They won the best in NHL. So Montreal have to score at least 3 goals to get. But I think you like your score 4-3, guys, on that one. But usually we finish the show that way with that kind of music. But we're going to change everything here, guys, because before you leave, you have to do something happening right now. So we're going to finish that one. Here we go. You got it, my friend. One from the Rain did it for the $5 from Alaska. Thanks so much for the super chat. So don't forget about the music. We're going to finish that one with a second super chat of the night. Thanks so much for that one. You did it again. Rain did it. Here we go. Ryan for the super chat, $5. Thanks so much for that. We appreciate a lot for the super chat we got tonight. Ryan a super chat. I think it was Ralph at the beginning, a super chat. So thanks again to be with us, Mr. Nartap and Mr. Devin. And don't forget to follow Devin after the game because what?
Habs After Dark, guys, on Recliner Sports 4 here on YouTube. We will be live 10 minutes after the game ends. I think I'm doing a show tomorrow. I'm not 100% sure, but just about every single other game, I'm live. If you want to find out if I'm live, you can go and check my channel, and there will be you'll be able to see the video is upcoming well ahead of time.
Safe travels during the weekend, Mr. Devin. Can wait to see you Sunday night. We're going to see you at the Weekly Report. Both of them do the show with me Sunday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Mr. Nartap, well, we don't follow after the game. We follow everywhere because you're everywhere, Mr. Nartap, on the social media and every website, every live stream. So I can wait to see you on about that one, Mr. Nartap. And Devin, thanks so much to be with us tonight. It was great to see you at the great show tonight. I can wait to see you next time.
Tomorrow, Coach.
I'm sorry?
Ivan Demidov tomorrow.
Ivan Demidov at 9 o'clock p.m. again, Madalburn, I believe it is the name.
Magnitogorsk.
All right, 9 o'clock. Can he get his 50 point? 9 o'clock Eastern Time. Going to follow Demidov for sure. So we wish both of you a great weekend. I will see you Sunday night. That's what a great show. That one, guys, we're going to finish with at the end, guys. We do usually the music. We do everything like that. It's not easy, but we want to thank RJ Canabo, the news update. We want to thank Marco. He was active in the chat, and many of you was active. PLW did a double live stream with me tonight. Some of you did a double stream with me. We did the Laval Rocket early. The Laval Rocket beat the Rochester American by the score 4-3. The Laval was losing 2-1 after 40 minutes. They came back with 3 goals and a span of 2 minutes 25. Alex Bariboulet with 2 goals with a game-winning goal for the Laval Rocket. With that W, Laval now lead the North Division by 1 point over the Rochester at 1 game in end. And they have another matchup tomorrow at 3 o'clock p.m. Montreal play tomorrow night at 7 o'clock p.m. against the Calgary Flame. They're going to following that trip to go to Vancouver Tuesday night at 10 p.m. And then the next day, again, at Seattle Kraken before they return to Montreal. They play again the Florida Panthers. So another game for the Montreal Canadiens. We want to thank also all the moderators. Ron Weekend was the moderator tonight at the Hockey Initial Show. We want to thank all the people. Click on the likes. And of course, going to create more shows like that. The Friday night is fun to be all together and talking about the Montreal Canadiens and everything happened in NHL. What a great hockey day and the world of the NHL with the end of the trade deadline. And we'll see what it will be the impact of many trades. Who is going to be the winner at the end to win the Stanley Cup. We want to thank also Triple W. Welcome back, Mr. Triple W. Glad to see you around. We have new people pop up. Thanks so much again. And of course, we can to remember everyone. Because the only reason we get better, we're getting closer to 9,000 subscribers because all of you with the co-host in our top 8 Devin.
You are awesome. You are amazing. You are the best. And remember, you have greatness inside of you.
Exactly. You have greatness inside of you. Of course, we want to remind you, be well, be health. Find a way not only dominate your day, but find a way to dominate the first half or what? Or maybe Nicolas or Luc Lavorson will set 2025. On that one, my friend, we wish you an amazing great night. Don't forget tomorrow, guys, a big game between the New York Rangers and the Ottawa Senators. This is a 2-team and for the Montreal Canadiens and the Rays to have to follow up. Montreal play the Flames tomorrow. Try to check other team for the Montreal have an impact tomorrow. This is really the only team you have to pay careful. Tomorrow the game is at 12:30 Eastern Time p.m. So follow that. AK, have an amazing great night. AK, we miss you, buddy. Hopefully see you around. Pete Martin was at the double live stream tonight. Raphaël, bonsoir, mon ami. On te souhaite une bonne soirée. On se reparle demain. Fish was glad to see you about Taylor Hall. To get Taylor Hall, no. Hall is over 35 years old, approximately with a cane. I will not touch Taylor Hall on that one. So, quelle journée incroyable. Oui, mon Nicolas, c'était vraiment actif à les alentours. Harry, on te souhaite une bonne soirée, mon ami. And that's all the Canadian show. Abnation want to tell you one thing. We love you, friends. Be a light for someone. To be a light guy is to be sure you make an impact to other people. Beginning of the weekend for everybody. Enjoy the weekend. Here in Thailand, it's already Saturday afternoon, and we're going to be ready for another cheese night somewhere, somehow around the Pattaya area. Wish you an amazing great night, everybody. And at the end of the day, guys, it's coming. It's coming. Booyah, everybody, and peace out. Good night.